Hello, boys and girls. This is our last page of the week, 11.11. We are jumping right in. This is fun. This is graphing. We're reviewing some graphs, and we are on page 327. Page 327. So let's just jump right in. We are looking at the top of the page, and it says, Dr. Bomar, a biologist, took a group of third graders to a desert for a field trip. That's fun. Many desert animals are nocturnal. What does that mean? They're active at night. Okay. The third graders did not see the animals, but they saw the animals' footprints on the sandy desert floor in the morning. Because guess what? The animals were all sleeping because they went on the field trip in the daytime. So they made a pictograph and a bar graph from their observations. So we are looking at, what did it say? The animals' footprints. And what were all the parts of the graph that we need to review? Every graph needs to have, a title that tells you what it's about, right? What if I just had a graph that looked like this? Watch this. What could you tell me from this graph? I don't know. Maybe there's 4.5 dogs somewhere. And then literally, you don't know what this means. A pictograph needs a key, remember? So there's the key. It tells you that 1 paw print equals 10 footprints. What else does it have? Oh, it tells you that row means jackrabbits. It tells you that row is how many bobcats there were. This one is telling you about the coyotes. And what is the whole graph telling you about? The footprints we saw in the desert. Okay, so going back to that, let's read this pictograph. So if I were to look at this, and 1 paw equals 10, so this is 10, 20, 30, 40, and this row would be 50, but that's only half of 50. What's half of 50? I'm sorry, what's half of 5? Goodness, forgive me, I just said it. What's half of 10? That's 5. So I would know that the coyotes, they saw 45 coyote prints. Well, let's look at this one. We have 40 plus 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. 50 bobcat. And then let's look 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, plus another half of 10. That equals 5. So again, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So that would be 75. Do you see that? And 75 what? Jackrabbit prints. 50 bobcat prints. 45 coyote prints. Where? The ones that they saw in the desert. Okay, so if you were on a field trip with that third grade class, you could make a graph like this. Okay, let's look. Could you also make the graph in a different way? Yes, this is called a bar graph because it looks like what? A giant bar. And instead of a key, you have the number line on the bottom. And what does it look like? Halfway between 40 and 50 is what? 45. Awesome. This one goes right to 50. So we know that coyote is 45. The bobcat was 50. Let's look at the jackrabbit. Halfway between 70 and 80 is what? 75. 75. Do you see something? These graphs tell us the exact same information, and they're supposed to because that's the data the kids collected. So you can have the same information graphed different ways, but still provide the same data. So it still tells us that there were 45 coyote prints, there's 50 bobcat prints, 75 jackrabbit prints. Do you see that? They're just told a different way. One is a pictograph, this one's a pictograph, and this one is a bar graph. Okay, now we know that. Let's move on. Answer the questions about those things. So it says use the pictograph and the bar graph to answer the questions. Okay, do the pictographs show the same or different number of footprints? Well, because we already did this, boys and girls, we know our answer. Do the pictographs show the same or different All we're writing same or different number of footprints. Well, we know it's the same. We just saw that, right? 45, 50, 75, 45, 50, 75. Same, oops, not Sam. Sorry, Sam, it's not you. It's same. Okay, how many coyote prints? Coyote. How many coyote prints were seen? 45 prints, footprints. Okay, number 3. Which animal had the fewest, the smallest number? Well, which of these is the fewest? What's the smallest number, 45, 50, or 75? 45. Does it want us to write 45? No. What does it want? Which animal had the fewest? So who had the fewest? It was the coyote. 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 And which one had the most? Don't write 75. They actually want the answer. It is jackrabbit. Okay, number 4. The bar graph could show up to 100 prints. Do you see that? Write a decimal for each animal's footprint out of 100. What are they asking me, Mrs. Cornthal? Write a decimal for each animal's number of footprints. So this would be, if we did it in fractions, the jackrabbit would be 75 out of 100. Now, this is not the answer for number 4, but I'm just going to say the bobcat would be 50 out of 100 if we were doing fractions. The coyote would be 45 out of 100, which would be a fraction, but it wants decimal. Remember how we read those? 45 hundredths, 50 hundredths, 75 hundredths. How do we write it here? I need to scoot, scoot, scoot. So we have 0 point, remember, out of 100. So think if we had 75, coyote was 45 pennies out of 100, okay? It would be 0.45. How do we remember that too? Because look at the decimal place. So here's 0, and this is tenths, and this is hundredths. Okay, here's the hundredths place. Do you see it? 45 out of 100, 45 hundredths. So like 45 pennies out of 100 pennies. They make up $1. Okay, you try it. What about the bobcat? It's very easy. 0.50 out of 100. Now, if you could say, well, Mrs. Cornthal, is that the same as 0.5? Yes, I will take it. I'm going to keep it at the hundredths place, though, only because that tells me it's 50 hundredths. But this is exactly the same thing, boys and girls. Exactly the same. I would take either answer. Okay, what about the jackrabbits? 0.75. It's 75 100ths. Do you see that? Like 75 pennies out of $1, 0.75. Awesome. That was a fun question. Okay, next page. If you're focused, this actually won't take us too long, which is really nice by the end of the week. Okay, so Ethan took this picture with a special camera. They used to have this in the zoo, in the inside area where the snakes are. It measures your temperature. They also have one at OMSI too. Ethan took this picture of his dog with a special camera. The camera shows temperature as different colors. Look at the warmer and cooler areas of the dog's body. Read the scale and see the color values. So let's just pause and take a look at this for a second. So read the scale and see the color values. So the warmer ones are on this side. So if you were to look, I'll even color this pink. If you were to look at the warmer areas, it's, you know, the background is a little bit warmer. What is some of the warmest areas of the dog? The bright pink. Maybe these little parts in here, the pink and purpley colors. Okay, and his face. And then the really darkest parts, what would you say is the coolest part of his body? Do you see it? The dark part right here? Well, his nose, a little bit of his eyes. Every time Mrs. Cornthal goes in, the tips of my fingers are always blue, and so is my nose. They just stay cold. I don't have very good circulation. So my nose is almost always chilly, chilly, cold colors when I get a picture taken. Okay, so now let's see what they want us to do. says Ethan lives in the desert. The temperature was 102.5 when he took the picture. As the day went on, the temperature rose. Okay, so the temperature went up. So it started in the morning. So you see it was 102.5. I'm going to switch colors. It was 102.5. And then by 10, it went to 103. By 11, it was 103.5. By noon, that's 12 o'clock, it was 104. It says, use the time and temperature table to plot the temperatures on the line graph. Connect the points with your ruler. Okay, I'm not going to use a ruler on this page. If you want to use a ruler, I know my friend Tegan loves her accurate lines with her ruler, so she might want to get one out. But if you just want to draw the straightest line you can, that would be great. Okay, so let's see what it says. Use the time and temperature to plot the temperatures on the chart. So nice thing is it already has a label for us. It already has numbers on the side, which is great because a lot of the times we have to fill these in. But it tells us the temperature measured degrees Fahrenheit, starting at 101 and going up to 106. So that'll be right where we need to be. And then we have the 9 a.m., the 10 a.m., the 11 a.m., and the noon. And it tells us that that means time. Great. So they did all that work for us. A lot of the times we have to fill those in, and not today. So that's great news. So at 9 a.m., where was the temperature? Well, here's 102, and halfway between 102 and 103 is 102.5. Remember 0.5, just like 50 cents is halfway to $1. 0.5 is halfway between the whole numbers. Okay, so at 11 o'clock, what time is it? Well, it was right at 103. Awesome. What about at 11? At 11 o'clock, it was 103.5. So halfway between 103 and 104. And at noon, it was 104. And I'm going to see if I can try and use this piece of paper. I will try and see if I can get a nice straight line. Oh. Okay. Whoops. Not very good. I should have just done it with a free hand. But I tried. And there we go. Okay, so your chart should look something like that. And that was a line graph. So we're practicing some of these. Now, this one says measure each to the nearest centimeter. Sorry, I missed a part. Half inch, not inch, half inch. So it'd be like 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5. And the nearest centimeter. So you need a two-sided ruler. Hopefully you have one with you because you did all your measuring at home when you did that packet. So hopefully you have a ruler with you. I am going to write in the answers. So you can pause this, go find a ruler, and then double check your work. Okay, so if you hear my voice, you already have these filled in to the nearest half inch. So you're going to round up or round down to the nearest half inch and the nearest centimeter. Okay, number 6. If you measured right, and remember, start at the 0, not at the end of your ruler. Start at the 0 right here on this line. Don't put your ruler to the edge of that. The 0 goes right here. Okay, so if you did that, this is about 3.5 inches. And it is about 9 centimeters. Okay, the next one, number 7, was about 1.5 inches and about 4 centimeters. Lastly, number 8 was about 3 inches and about 7 centimeters. Okay, if you were a little off, go back and make sure you lined up your ruler with the 0 mark. I can't measure on my screen because it's not the same size as the book. But I gave you the correct answers, and I hope you got them right. If you didn't, you can measure again. And other than that, boys and girls, I am so proud of you. Today was a nice, quick day of math and a great way to end the week. Let's see, 7, 8. Great way to end the week. So until next week, you are done with your math. Adios, amigos. Number 1, more than anything, love God and love your neighbor.